Huskies fans. What if I told you UConn's next great lead guard after the Paige Beckers era might already be sitting at the very top of the 2027 recruiting rankings? And no, this is not just another random recruiting rumor. Kaleena Special K Smith, the number one point guard in America, is officially the name UConn fans need to be watching right now. Because the question is simple. Can Geno Auriemma land the next superstar engine of the UConn Huskies WBB dynasty?
Prime Field!
What's good, Prime Field Nation? Welcome back. Today we're diving into the Kaleena Smith watch, why this recruitment just got very real, why the transfer drama label is a little misleading, how Sarah Strong connects to all of this, and why UConn's 2027 backcourt plan could define the next era in stores. So lock in, because this one is not just about one recruit. This is about the future identity of UConn basketball. First, let's clean up the biggest thing right away. Kaleena Smith is not a transfer portal player. She's a high school superstar in the class of 2027. So when we say transfer drama, what we really mean is recruiting drama. The kind of high-stakes blue blood battle where every visit, every quote, every follow, every courtside appearance gets analyzed by fan bases like it's a Final Four scouting report. And honestly, that's what makes this fun. Because UConn is not just recruiting a good guard here. UConn is tracking the number one player in the class, a 5'6" point guard out of Ontario Christian in California, who has built a national reputation as a fearless scorer, a creative passer, and the kind of competitor who can take over a game even when everyone in the gym knows she is the first, second, and third option. Her production is ridiculous. We're talking over 30 points per game, nearly 7 assists, elite defensive disruption, and shooting splits that scream the superstar guard. And that's why this matters so much for UConn. Because after Paige Beckers, after AZ Fudd, after years of elite shot makers and offensive creators, the Huskies need to answer the next big question. Who is the next lead guard who can run the show? Let's be real. UConn does not just collect talent. UConn builds systems around players who process the game faster than everyone else. That is why Kaleena Smith is so fascinating. She's not the biggest guard. She's not the tallest. But the best point guards in UConn history were never just about measurements. They were about feel, timing, pace, passing angles, toughness, confidence. The ability to walk into a hostile gym and say, I control this game now. That is what makes Smith's profile pop. She can score at all three levels. She can push tempo. She can create separation. She can bend a defense and force help. And when a point guard can bend a defense, that is when UConn basketball becomes terrifying. Because, now imagine this for a second. Sarah Strong at the elbow, Kaleena Smith coming off a screen, a shooter in the corner, a cutter diving baseline. Geno Auriemma's offense flowing with spacing, movement, and decision-making. That is the kind of combination that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. And Huskies fans, this is where the hype starts to feel real. Sarah Strong is already the centerpiece for UConn's next chapter. She is the superstar leader. She is the matchup nightmare. She is the player who can anchor the Sarah Strong 2026-27 season and still be the bridge into the next wave. But if you pair that kind of front court genius with an elite young point guard who can pressure the rim, shoot off the dribble, and create for others, that is not just a good roster. That is dynasty architecture. Now let's talk roster reality. UConn's 2026-27 backcourt has talent. Nobody is saying the cupboard is empty. Keke Arnold, Ashlyn Shade, Kaylee Heckel, Maureen Dursis, Jovanna Popovich, there are pieces. There are competitors. There is development potential. But recruiting is not just about next season. Recruiting is about 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and making sure there's never a gap in the machine. That is why the 2027 class is so important. By the time Kaleena Smith would arrive on campus, UConn could be looking at a very different guard room. Seniors move on. Roles change, injuries happen, players develop. And in modern college basketball, you cannot just assume your backcourt will naturally reload itself. You have to go get the next one. And that is where Geno Auriemma's recruiting vision matters. Geno has always valued players who can think the game, not just run fast and jump high. He wants guards who can play with pace without playing rushed. He wants guards who can make the simple pass and the special pass. He wants players who understand that UConn basketball is not about highlights first, it is about winning first. Kaleena Smith checks a lot of those boxes. And here's the emotional part for Huskies fans. After watching Paige carry that creative burden, after watching AZ stretch defenses with that beautiful jumper, UConn fans know what elite guard play feels like. We know what it looks like when the ball is in the right hands. And that is why the Smith recruitment feels bigger than a normal recruiting update. It feels like the search for the next heartbeat. Now, we have to be honest, UConn is not alone here. When you're talking about the number one point guard in the country, everybody wants in. South Carolina is right there. USC and UCLA have location advantages. West Coast programs can sell proximity, family comfort, and the spotlight of staying close to home. Other major programs can sell NIL, immediate opportunity, and national visibility. So no, this is not going to be easy. But here's what UConn can sell that very few programs can match. A proven guard legacy, a championship standard, a player development machine, and the chance to become the next great point guard in the most iconic women's basketball program in the country. That pitch still hits different. Because at UConn, you are not just joining a team. You are stepping into a standard. Every practice matters. Every possession matters. Every decision gets sharpened. Geno is not recruiting players to be comfortable. He is recruiting players to become champions. And for a guard like Kaleena Smith, who already has the nickname Special K, who already has the spotlight, who already has the national ranking, the question becomes, does she want to be famous or does she want to be legendary? Because those are two different things. And Storrs has a pretty strong history of turning great guards into legends. But here's the part that makes this recruiting board even more interesting. Kaleena Smith is the headline. She is the click. She is the number one name that gets people talking. But UConn is not only watching Smith. Ivana Wilson-Manyacka and Halen Ayers are also major names in the 2027 picture. And that tells us something important. Geno is not playing checkers. He is building a full recruiting matrix. Ivana gives you size, versatility, and wing power. That matters because modern women's college basketball is becoming more positionless every year. You need players who can defend multiple spots, handle switches, rebound, and attack mismatches. Halen Ayers gives you guard size and scoring punch. She's another player who could fit into that UConn perimeter pipeline. So when we talk about Kaleena Smith, the bigger point is this. UConn is hunting elite perimeter talent, and they are not being passive about it. They know the standard. They know the SC is loading up. They know South Carolina is not going away. They know USC and UCLA are coming with power, visibility, and star appeal. And they know the only way to keep the UConn Huskies WBB dynasty alive is to stack elite classes around elite leaders. Which brings us right back to Sarah Strong. Huskies fans, let's talk about Sarah Strong for a second. Because yes, this video is about Kaleena Smith, but Sarah Strong is the gravitational force around everything UConn is building right now. After that Final Four run, after the heartbreak against South Carolina, after the pressure of being the superstar, Sarah Strong is not just another elite player. She is the face of the next era. And if you are a recruit looking at UConn, you're not just looking at Geno. You're not just looking at banners. You're looking at who you get to play with. For Kaleena Smith, the idea of playing with Sarah Strong could be massive. A dominant forward who can score, pass, rebound, and command defensive attention. That is a point guard's dream. Because when Sarah catches the ball and the defense collapses, Kaleena gets space. When Kaleena breaks down the defense, Sarah gets easy touches. When both are on the floor together, the defense has to pick its poison. That is the beautiful part. And this is where the emotional peak hits. UConn does not need to chase the past. UConn needs to build the next version of itself. Not Page 2.0. Not another copy of what already happened. A new identity. Sarah Strong is the superstar leader. Kaleena Smith is the electric lead guard. International freshmen like Maureen Dursis developing inside the culture. Geno Auriemma reloading the system with toughness, IQ, and championship expectations. That is the vision. That is the dream. And that is why this recruiting watch just got real. So what should we watch from here? Number 1, visits. If Smith gets back to Storrs, that is a big signal. Number 2, final lists. When a recruit starts trimming schools, that tells us where the real contenders stand. Number 3, Geno's movement. Which games does UConn show up for? Which events do they prioritize? Which players do they keep pushing hardest for? Number 4, how the 2026-27 season looks. This matters more than people think. If UConn looks like a rejuvenated Sarah Strong-led powerhouse, that becomes part of the recruiting pitch. Winning is recruiting. Culture is recruiting. Development is recruiting. And for a player like Kaleena Smith, the pitch is not just come to UConn. The pitch is come lead the next dynasty. So here's the bottom line. Kaleena Smith to UConn is not a done deal. It is not something we should treat like a lock. The competition is real, the West Coast pull is real, and powerhouse programs are absolutely going to fight for her. But UConn being involved matters. Because this is exactly the type of player who can change the future of a program. A number 1 point guard. A fearless scorer. A potential lead guard for the next era after Paige and AZ. And if Geno Auriemma can pair that kind of guard with Sarah Strong, with UConn's player development, with the culture in stores, Huskies fans, that is how the dynasty strikes back. Now I need to hear from you. Do you think Kaleena Smith ends up at UConn? Or do you think South Carolina, USC, UCLA, or another program has the edge? Drop your prediction in the comments right now. And if you love UConn Huskies WBB recruiting updates, Sarah Strong 2026-27 coverage, Geno Auriemma news, and everything happening in stores, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications. Because this offseason is just getting started. And the next UConn dynasty might already be forming.
Prime Field.